Now, this story, a call has been made for government to urgently start engaging stakeholders on the verification of small-scale disused mines in order to control illegal activities. This call is at the back of 97 illegal miners, also known as Zamazamas, and an elderly farm owner being arrested during a clampdown on illicit mining activities in the area of Heidelberg, just the eastern part of Gauteng. The Benchmarks Foundation lead researcher David van Wyk says small-scale mines in South Africa need to be audited in order to create conditions within which small-scale mining can operate legally. He joins us now to unpack how this can be done. Good afternoon, Mr. van Wyk. Thank you very much for your time. Is it a simple and straightforward solution, what you're proposing?
Well, I think that the solution is an important thing to look at, because we are having a situation where our police are constantly tied up with trying to control and manage small-scale miners that have occupied more than 6,000 abandoned mines. Some of them have been employed to work in legal mines illegally by subcontractors and labor brokers and security companies and syndicates and so on. We need to take control of the situation because it has an impact on the lives of these people as well as on the economy of the country. Now, as minerals decline, we are having a situation where many mines are no longer viable for large-scale mining. But there might still be some minerals in there that small-scale miners may extract, and it might address the situation of unemployment in this country if we allow people to remine those old mines and do so on a much smaller scale. We need to make this transition in an orderly manner, because if we do not, then we have an opening for syndicates and so on to move in and exploit people. You know, the workers from Lesotho that were brought in to operate on that mine in Heidelberg, you can see from the photographs and so on, they're between 18 and 25 years old. They were probably brought there by a labor broker telling them that they are coming to work in a legal mine, when in actual fact they are operating in an illegal mine. And they are super exploited because they can't belong to a trade union, they don't have pension, they don't have medical aid or anything like that, and they work under very dangerous conditions. If we want to eliminate the situation, we've got to address the issue, because just in Gauteng alone, there are 34,000 illegal miners or small-scale miners operating in just one province. So they have probably 250,000 people dependent on their income. And we are sitting with a situation where if we do not control it, we will become like Katanga province in the DRC, where you have whole towns that have collapsed as a result of the fact that small-scale artisanal mining have taken over where large-scale mines have left off, and it wasn't done in an orderly fashion, you know. Okay. And so unless we control and manage things, we are heading for trouble.
Yeah, but there will be a number of factors, I imagine, that will have to be considered. For example, you said some of these disused mines have been closed down because they were no longer viable for whoever owns them. But also in some of them, there could have been acid infiltration, and they're no longer safe and healthy. They are health hazards. So whose responsibility in this suggested solution that you are talking about so eloquently, and it makes sense as I'm listening to you, what are the factors would have to be taken into consideration? For example, who will be licensed under these conditions? The land belongs to somebody, for example, where that mine is situated.
Well, I think that if we look at Main Reef Road in Johannesburg, for example, most of the land along Main Reef Road belongs to the city of Johannesburg. The problem that we are having is that the only buyers of this gold are people who deal in scrap metals and so on. Everywhere where you've got small-scale miners, illegal miners, you've got scrap metal dealers who buy and sell gold. And this gold is bought and sold illicitly. And we don't have control about the amount of gold that is being sold or the potential revenue that could come from it. So how do you do it? You do it by taking every 5 operations and putting them under the control of one engineer, a geologist, a safety officer, and so on, to assist these guys to operate more safely. But you can generate an income by creating a central buying agency for small-scale miners that buy all their gold, and then you keep a certain percentage of what you buy from them in order to pay for the engineers, the geologists, and safety officers that you want to deploy to assist them. And in that way, you get to a situation where you know who is mining, who is licensed and who is not licensed. At the moment, all these people are unlicensed and they are operating in very dangerous conditions. And they've got no technical assistance that they're getting from anyone. And you get nasty accidents, but you also get nasty conflicts between syndicates that control the land and the access to the mines and also control the flow of the minerals out of the mines. People who don't actually do a day's work, but profit generously from it.
Who would hold the license? Who will be licensed in this scenario?
Well, I think that the licenses should be held by the Department of Mineral Resources like with any other mine. You know, as a country, we are moving away from industrial mining because the minerals are becoming less and less. Minerals are not renewable. And so we have to scale down to make towns like Welkom and Klerksdorp, Orkney, Stilfontein viable by having smaller scale mining in those towns that are done in a professional and controlled manner rather than the chaos that we are seeing at the moment.
Yeah, and then the safety issue. I know you mentioned that you could have an engineer and somebody to make sure they are safe, but our mines have been known, I mean, historically to really not be that safe, and we've lost thousands and thousands of mine workers underground.
Yes, look, we've got ultra deep level gold mines, but you know, if we look at Johannesburg South, for example, most of those mines are filling up with water. So the Zamazamas are operating maybe in the first 5 levels. Below that, all the shafts are full of water, all the tunnels are full of water. They can't go deeper than that. So they don't go down ultra deep unless they do so illegally. And what you have on the far west rand is subcontractors and so on bring in people from Lesotho. They smuggle them into the mine. They go down 2,000, 3,000 meters with the skips that go down every day, and they stay underground for 2-3 months at a time as ghost workers, operating parallel to the normal workers. And that's not a good thing either, because their gold also goes up with the skips and so on, but they get paid 50% less than a normal worker. They're not unionized. They don't have pension. They don't have medical aid or anything like that. And that must be stopped, because those people go underground with the full knowledge of mine security and everyone else. But because we're using subcontracted labor and labor brokers, the people who are working underground don't know who they are working with. You know, in the old days when workers were fully employed by the mine itself rather than subcontractors and labor brokers, people who were in charge of those workers knew who their workers were, knew what their stories were, knew where they came from and where they are going to. Nowadays, it's a free-for-all in the mines.
It's a free-for-all that can be stopped. Thank you very much, David van Wyk.